Jason has just joined us. How are you doing, Jason?
Good to be with you, JF.
Well, thank you for coming. So we discussed in private, and you've been involved in the Unite the Right rally, which I don't know much about. I know it's been making headlines for many reasons, and I thought it would be great to have you on to tell us about your view of this rally. Was it a good thing? What were there things that you would do differently concerning this rally now that you look back at it, and what's the current situation? I believe there are lawsuits related to this rally, so can you take our audience through what was the Unite the Right rally?
Right, sure. Yeah, this is an incredibly complex subject. This is something that I've spent about 2 years of my life on at this point. I originally conceived of the Unite the Right rally because we had this black supremacist, I guess you could say, who was on the Charlottesville City Council where I live, and he was trying to take down a Confederate monument to Robert E. Lee. And I saw this as something that was happening all over the place where these SJWs were trying to tear down statues and monuments that had to do with the history of European peoples or European Americans, whatever you want to say. And I thought that it was something that we needed to fight back against. And so I decided to have a rally where I brought a lot of speakers from the alt-right together so that we could speak about white identity issues. And needless to say, this was a much more complicated thing than I originally intended, because I think at the time I assumed that the alt-right was more of um, a powerful political force than it actually was. I figured that we had attorneys, we had people in the movement who were supposedly very wealthy people. I thought we had a lot of resources, but I filed this permit for the rally and it
You
got
should have
denied.
asked me. I would have tell you no.
Yeah, yeah. So we absolutely, at the time, 2017, people who are longing for those days of let's go back to the alt-right before Unite the Right, they don't know what they're talking about, because at that point, we were a paper tiger. We were a movement that was there to support Donald Trump and the GOP. And if they don't build the wall for us or they don't stop the caravan, we just bitch about it on Twitter. What Unite the Right was an opportunity for the white identity movement to move into the real world. And when we tried to do that, there were a lot of powerful groups, like powerful attorneys, billionaires, a media complex, these ethnic interest groups that are against white people. And they were all crushing down on us, creating fake narratives, trying to portray the incident as if we had come there to start trouble when we actually had a permit. It was the Antifa who were outside of the venue attacking people on the way in who didn't. And so you asked if I think that it's a good thing. I think it was a necessary thing, because people had to be shaken out of this comfort that they were in, that we're just going to waltz into power and we're going to get what we need. I think all the people who I think first, people are right to be scared about what's happened. There's been a lot of censorship afterwards. There's people who have gone to jail. I mean, I've faced 3 different criminal charges that I've beaten. I've faced various lawsuits, but we have real attorneys now fighting for us. I believe that out of Unite the Right is going to come a white civil rights movement, and that's what I want to see.
Ah, that's interesting. I'm totally supportive of a white civil rights movement. I think there are many instances of discrimination against whites that need to be fought, even if it sucks. It's not even something I would want to do, but it's a necessity, as you phrase it, and it's an in the current context of identity politics, since the left is using these weapons against us. It's not a physical weapon, but this concept of identity and this concept of oppression. Well, let's show them that people are being oppressed also on the side that they contest and that they consider to be the white patriarchy, or whatever they call it these years. So it seems that I'm not aware of much of the story, but it seems that Richard Spencer, since then, seems to be sending signals that maybe physical involvement in physical demonstration is less what he's going to attempt to do in the future. Did you follow the story? Did you follow his videos? And do you share his view that maybe physical demonstration is not the way to go for the future, at least for a part of the alt-right?
You know, when you say a part, sure. I mean, I think people should have the freedom to choose whether they're idea people and whether they want to forward narratives online or whether they want to do something in public. But absolutely, I think we've got to keep up a presence in the physical space. What happened at Unite the Right was these violent Antifa groups used their tactics to try and shut down speech. And since then, they've been crowing about it. And then the billionaires who are backing these lawsuits, they've been openly saying, we are suing them to force them off of the public areas and back onto the internet. And I think that we've got to keep doing public stuff, but we've got to be smarter about it. One thing that I've noticed is that if you're a pro-white person, you're at a demonstration, you have to be a choir boy. You cannot break the law whatsoever. You have to be perfect. That's why I've been advocating that people use nonviolent resistance. I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh my God, that's scary. You know, Antifa are violent. Yes, it's true, but it's the only thing we can do that's going to short circuit what they're doing, because if we react to them, then we're the bad guys and they lock us up. And then the other thing is that the whole thing that Antifa is doing with their violence is predicated on the idea that we are going to react to them and then we can be portrayed as the bad guys. If we refuse to be provoked by these people, there's no way that they are the good guys in this situation.
Now, people are telling me on the chat that at this moment, because I just subscribed to gamingyoutube.com, making this channel a gaming channel to allow people to sponsor the show, and we are #1 on gaming YouTube. We're the best game streamers on YouTube right now, but it's not really a game that we're playing. I totally agree with you on this approach. Essentially, you should use the maximal amounts of rights that you have and use them just to see people violate them. And if Antifa violates them, at least then you can make a demonstration that there is oppression against you. I think it's a very valid strategy. I don't think everyone should engage in this, but if you have the heart for it, just go practice a right of yours and wait for them to hit you, and don't necessarily hit back. Just film it and make sure that it's on camera, and make sure that people see that the mere existence of white people is triggering people enough to cause violence in our society, and then you'll have a big message to push. Of course, I'm not saying everyone should do it. I'm not saying that if you don't do it, you are failing the cause. But if you have the heart and the physique to do that, I totally see this as a realistic strategy. Now, was there anything else you wanted to discuss tonight?
Well, sure. I just like to talk a little bit about the new rally, because I'm actually doing a Unite the Right 2, and it's going to be on the anniversary of the first rally. Oh. And the reason that I'm doing this is very controversial. Actually, Michael Edison Hayden, the Antifa reporter for Newsweek, put out an article today saying, haha, nobody's going to do Unite the Right 2. But trust me, there are lots of people who are going to do it. A lot of the speakers who did it last year, like Richard Spencer, they might not be able to do it because of the lawsuits and everything that's going on. But I do believe that the pro-white movement is a grassroots movement that transcends just who the speakers are. And I think that it's important that we stand up for American history, for white history, for free speech, and against the oppression that our people are facing. So anybody that is interested in going to that new rally, you can send me an email or give me your email address on Twitter or whatever, and we can have a conversation about how we're going to do it. The imperative thing that people have got to know is that we cannot trust law enforcement necessarily to keep us safe. We've got to cooperate with them, but we have to build in safeguards, and we have to keep a lot of separation between us and Antifa. So I I have the demonstration plan for August 11th and 12th in Charlottesville, Virginia. I do have a backup plan for people who have been asking, and that is going to be in front of the White House. So if Charlottesville denies our permit for any reason, it's not safe, we're going to get in vans and we're going to go to Lafayette Park in front of the White House. So I have two options for people.
That
And
sounds like a great plan. So you're trying Charlottesville first. Is this your feeling that it will be denied?
Well, I applied for a permit and they denied me like they did last year. So I filed a federal lawsuit against them, and that's being worked through courts right now. I think we're going to have our decision in July. So I'm encouraging people that if they want to do the demonstration, whether it's in Charlottesville or whether it's in Washington, D.C., to go ahead and book something outside of Charlottesville, a room between Charlottesville and Washington, D.C. We will have a demonstration one way or the other, and I'm going to be working closely with the federal government and with law enforcement to make sure that Antifa is not able to use violence.
Well, I didn't know that you had to go through many steps like this, and it's very commendable of you to be fighting this fight in the legal system. It sucks because other ideological groups would not have these problems, I believe, and they would not be denied a fair request. But the fact that you're holding this up in court is really commendable, and I have the greatest respect. And I will be adding your Twitter link in the description, so anyone follow him on Twitter if you want to support Jason. And so do we have, you said that you would have in July the response from the court?
I believe so. Right now, we're waiting for the Charlottesville government to respond to the complaint. I mean, it's pretty clear that they're infringing the First Amendment rights of pro-white people, pro-monument people, whatever you want to call them. And so they don't have a good legal argument. And I think that they're going to be beaten, but they're dragging their feet. They're asking for more time to file their responses. They're begging these pro bono law firms to help them out. But yeah, I think that we are going to beat them eventually, but it's going to be probably in July that happens.
At some points, their legal expenses are going to be so high that they're going to say, all right, we have to give them the permit.
Yeah, and we're going to file lawsuits against them for civil rights abuse that happened last year. A lot of people have been asking about that. Believe me, it's going to happen. It's just that the problem is that we didn't have attorneys when this thing happened originally. And so they had billionaires paying for attorneys to sue us first. So we've been playing defense for like 5 months, 4 months, whatever. But our counterclaims are going to be filed in June. And I'm not going to allow these people to violate our rights the way that they did. Believe me, they mess with the wrong people when they mess with us.
All right, Valentin sends us $50. Thank you so much. This channel and the content you put out keeps getting better and better. Keep it up, JF. Thank you. Hooper Croton says, Je suis JF. Well, thank you all for the support. Jason, before we conclude, was there anything else you wanted to cover today?
That's all I got.
All right, so we'll talk to you again in the future, and we'll keep up to date with this situation and with the second Charlottesville manifestation or demonstration. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you.